All right. Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Philly Film Brothers podcast. I am Chris Domenico,
And I'm the funny one, Dave.
and the delusional one as well. So today we're
They
going to,
go hand in hand.
right. Today we're going to be talking about the new Disney Pixar movie released only on Disney Plus, I believe, Soul. I just recently got to see, I believe they released it in theaters overseas because some other countries are open now, I hear.
Yeah, I think it was a simultaneous, similar to Wonder Woman. It was a theaters in some area, but same day streaming, on their platform. Now, I have actually watched it a total of 3 times since it debuted on Christmas.
That's impressive.
Well, I also have an almost 2-year-old who absolutely loves it.
Yeah, and it's one of those. I mean, it is Disney Pixar movies are kids movies, but I think they are family movies in the sense that adults enjoy them many times just as much, if not more.
Well,
So
yeah, I mean, I get a lot more out of that than I do out of, there's certainly, like toddler aimed TV programming that's meant to be educational, but as an adult, I don't get anything in it. I know my ABCs, I know the colors,
right.
what I know all that, but when you get to watch a Pixar movie, you get something out of it. And I think, correct me if I'm wrong, but was this the first year we got 2-for-1 with Onward earlier in the year and then Soul at the end of the year?
I was thinking about that. I think we got the when Inside Out came out. I think that was the same year as the Good Dinosaur, which I actually is one of the few ones I haven't seen. But yeah, I was thinking about that too, and it was quite impressive that they were able to do two movies in the same year. I mean, especially the year that we had.
Well, everyone was at home with nothing to do but time to animate and do post production.
Apparently. So getting into the movie a little bit, I never really know what to expect. I mean, Pixar movies to me, I mean, I think there was at one point they were the gold standard, and just kind of any Pixar movie you saw, you knew was going to be good, and then kind of in later years, that wasn't always a guarantee. Like they were always going to be good movies, but you didn't know if it was going to be like a great movie. Um,
It's hard to keep that up,
oh, it is.
that same level. It's virtually impossible, and I think after a while, its competitors started to catch up,
Oh, for
like
sure.
DreamWorks and
Illumination.
Illumination. They started to. They're not quite all on the same level that Pixar was in its, say, golden age. But I mean, I'll just say Shrek is better than 75% of Pixar movies.
Ooh,
The first Shrek.
that's a bold claim. That's interesting.
I love Shrek.
No, it's great. I mean, I think it's one of the great animated films of all time. But so I kind of went into this not knowing really what to expect from it. I mean, I saw the concept intrigued me, and I thought,
How
okay.
much did you know going in?
So I had seen the teaser trailer of Joe Gardner as a soul and 22 as a soul. Like I think it was like a 30-second teaser, and then I'd seen the first trailer, so I knew
Oh, okay.
I knew that the guy, dies and he's a jazz musician, and but he's not actually dead, which I thought that was going to be like a reveal later, but that's actually pretty early on. You find out he's in the hospital. But I got to tell you, I was really brought in. The movie really pulled me in immediately, and it's in some ways I feel like this was a movie kind of directly made for me. In some ways, I don't know if that
Because you are, in fact, a jazz musician.
because I'm a jazz musician. No, I think they really nailed the creative art teacher dilemma.
It's funny. So I went in virtually not knowing anything. I think I missed the trailer. I just kept hearing, "Oh, Soul's coming to Disney Plus on Christmas," and I thought, "Oh, great! It'll be a movie to watch with Lucy, a good kids movie. She'll love it. So I didn't realize it was about him dying or being a ghost or whatever. I knew nothing about it. I went in totally blind. And the first 5 minutes, I said, "Okay, so we're doing Mr. Holland's Opus. Okay, I can get behind it. It's Pixar's version of that." And then, oh no, it's not. Oh
And
my God,
then
is
he
he
died.
dead? That was my thought. Like 10 minutes in,
Yeah, like, well, this got really morbid fast.
I know. Well, because he fell in. I thought he had like fallen into another world, a la Enchanted, where
Oh,
he went through the manhole and it was a different. I thought, oh, is he like? Oh no, those are souls and the great beyond. Whoa, this is getting metaphysical and existential for like, especially for a Pixar movie.
yeah. Well, that's interesting that you kind of went in with less knowledge than me quite a bit, like you, because I knew that it was about death and life, and I knew the basic idea of it. I think I had forgotten that he was a teacher, and that's kind of really what spoke to me. I mean, just in the beginning, he's debating whether he is going to take a full-time job teaching, and when you teach long enough, and my background is I teach in the creative arts. I've been doing this 8 years now, and that kind of just flew by. And almost every year, it's always a question like, how long am I going to do this for? Am I ever going to kind of see the creative side, the filmmaker side of me kind of take off in a way that I'm satisfied with? So I very much related to Joe in this movie, even to the point that I love that his former student gets him a gig. First of all, the former student still calling him Mr. Gardner, and that was
That never goes away.
that was very familiar to me. But I mean, I've had students that have been very successful in the entertainment industry, and I've had one particular student, has gotten me like a gig before, so it was very relatable.
So that quite literally was almost lifted from your own experience.
Yeah, it really was, and kind of this weird balance that the creative arts teachers do, where we're still an artist, but we're also a teacher, and that constant dualism.
Did you relate at all to the fact that he had a mother who was not subtle at all in pointing out, it's so good you got this full-time real job and you can put away those dreams of your music gigs?
Well, yeah, that was relatable. I thought was kind of interesting about this movie is that it felt like they took elements of several different Pixar movies and they kind of put them together. Like, I kind of felt that it was a little bit of Inside Out. It was a little bit of Coco. I mean, as far as it being about someone that loves music, kind of like the musician versus the real job concept. It was a little bit Brave with the body switch. I didn't feel that it was like a copy of it or anything. I just felt like it was inspired by it a little bit, and that it starts out that way, but then it kind of goes in a different direction, because I think the message of this movie is very different from, say, Coco.
Yeah, I mean, I went into this fully expecting it to be, oh, he's going to face, again, this is me going and not knowing the plot at all. I was expecting it to be a struggle between those two choices. Does he choose the full-time career or being a gig musician? And then it winds up being so much more complicated than that, and getting the souls involved. I guess I would say it's Mr. Holland's Opus meets Down to Earth, who, for those who don't remember, was a Chris Rock comedy in the early 2000s where he dies and his guardian angel takes him by accident, but he wasn't supposed to, and sends him back to Earth in another body.
You know what? I was thinking about that movie too. Over the pandemic, I watched that again because it was on Amazon. I really enjoyed that movie.
I have not. I gotta rewatch it. I haven't seen that in like 15 years.
I mean, I think the last time I saw it was in the theater. I wasn't quite sure what was going to happen next. It was very unpredictable. And I mean, overall, I mean, I thought it was very heartfelt. It was funny. I thought it was one. I wouldn't. I don't know if I would put it in like the top three, but I mean, I don't know. It's hard to. I haven't really ranked them, so I'm not sure where I would rank it. But I would say it would definitely be one of their top tier movies for sure.
I would agree. It's very hard to rank them, just because it's more an issue that it'd be tough to pick a top 10 just because most of them deserve that spot.
Right.
They're on. I to a lesser extent, I myself was in the teaching field. I'm sure you related to it a lot more than I did, but I certainly understood the elements of it and about how he felt kind of most at home and he felt best about himself when he was being a mentor.
Yeah. I mean,
You
it's
know, all my time of teaching, I left the field for a number of reasons, but the one thing I liked about it and the one thing I missed the most was that aspect of it.
sure. It was definitely a pro teacher movie. I mean, I think at the end of the day, it was. I feel the message was don't get lost in your craft. You know, it can sometimes be a distraction. Like they talk about like your spark, and he felt Joe felt his spark was jazz. His spark was playing the piano, and that's obviously a huge part of who he was. But there was more to him than that, and even the scene where he goes to the barber shop, which is great. He talks to the barber, and he's like, "Wow, we never really had a conversation like that didn't involve jazz." And I think I don't know, it was an interesting angle because we've seen many times before the workaholic person that doesn't pay attention to life, right? I mean, that's a pretty common trope. But I don't know that we've ever seen the artist that's so kind of wound up in his or her art that they kind of miss stuff. And I thought that was an interesting story that I didn't realize I needed to see.
That you yourself have been so lost in it that you
I think it's where we prioritize things. Like, it's my art is very important to me, but the life experiences and the people, they're way more important. And I think that, I mean, that's the message of the movie. And one of the, what is it? One of the Jerrys, so, right? It's Jerry.
yeah, there's like five of them.
Yeah. Jerry, one of the Jerrys makes a comment and says, oh, what does Jerry say? Like, oh, you artists, you're always, what, what line I'm talking about?
Yeah, he says like you think that your spark is your art, but like your spark is so much more basic than that.
Yeah.
That his spark wasn't necessarily jazz. It wasn't even necessarily music. That maybe it was just helping or mentoring people in all facets of life. That your spark might not necessarily be filmmaking, but just storytelling in all aspects. Storytelling, writing lesson plans could be a form of storytelling.
Sure. Yeah, and
And
inspiring people in some way. I mean, I think that's the basic idea, and and they show this in a really clever way with just having this character 22 who is experiencing the world for the first time, and really through 22 we're able to kind of have that appreciation, kind of experience that appreciation for the first time. That whole mentor relationship. I mean, that kind of reminded me of when as a teacher, when you're able to connect with like that one kid that the other teachers just don't get.
mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
And then that kid winds up getting you a gig several years later.
But very similarly, like 22 had all these, like she had like the best teachers.
I interpreted that as she had the best teachers. She had all these experts and famous people, and it reminded me of how in college you can have a professor who is at the top of their field and they are a genius in the subject matter, but they are lousy at teaching.
Yeah.
And then you have Joe, who's just a good teacher, and that is not the same skill set.
No, it's completely different skill set. And to be fair, I've had good professors, but there are certain.
Yeah, of course. As did I. I'm not trying to
But we've all
disparage anyone at Westchester University. I'm just saying that
we just have to name them, don't we? You have to put it out there.
the two skills don't. It's all universities, and it's that the two skills don't necessarily coincide.
Oh yeah, no, I mean for sure. The other thing I took from it, I mean, there was so much in this movie that was moving, trying to decide between following, which dream you're going to follow. But the other thing that really spoke to me is when 22 becomes a lost soul, and Joe's trying to kind of go after her, and it goes into like her bubble and sees like the shadows of like all the bad things that the previous teachers had said and all the things that he had said to her, and that was particularly moving because it's a reminder that the things you say to people, they can live on for just years and years and years in that person's mind.
That was something that when I was student teaching, my cooperating teacher said to me, he said, watch what you say. You don't realize how influential you can be, and how you could be in a bad mood and you say the wrong thing to a kid, they're gonna hold on to that for the rest of their life. Or quite the opposite, if you say that one good, encouraging thing, they will hold on to that for the rest of their life.
Absolutely, yeah. And in some ways, I mean, that was maybe the most powerful scene of the film, and I thought it was done very well, because I think all of us should think about how we talk to others and how the words we choose to use with others and what we choose to portray, whether we're mentors or not, just in everyday life.
Even as you can look at it from the other point of view. Whether you're a teacher or not, who doesn't have at least that one teacher they remember from high school?
Oh yeah, no,
everyone has that one, at least one in mind.
I had quite a few that were inspiring to me that I still keep in touch with. So yeah. I mean, I thought the film was really just it felt like a pro teacher film. It felt like a pro art film. The other part that really got to me was when he does the gig, because I didn't know where it was going to go, and that's a good thing in the movie when I'm not sure what's going to happen. So I was thinking, like, when they get to the jazz club, I did kind of predict that like 22 is not going to want to leave the body, but
well, after you've had a slice of New York pizza, can you blame her?
Right. Oh my gosh, I lost it with the Pizza Rat. The Pizza Rat cameo was great.
Oh my God. Also, I love how only in New York City could a guy walk around in a hospital gown talking to a cat, and 90% of people are just like, whatever. It's New York.
At first, like, I thought that I'm like, that's kind of weird that like no one is saying anything. But I'm like, wait, no, it's New York. Like no one's gonna say anything.
Yeah.
A guy.
Will Ferrell ran around the streets of New York in Elf, dressed like an elf, and no one said anything. Right. They're just like, whatever. It's
another day in NYC. I was thinking that she was gonna have to do the concert, and like Joe was gonna have to like teach her how to do jazz or something. I thought maybe that's what was gonna happen. Like she was gonna have to do a gig for him, and I'm glad that's not what happened, because he does the gig. It goes really, really well. And he's leaving, and he kind of has like this emptiness. Dorothea Williams says to him, it uses the fish example, where the fish says, I'm looking for the ocean," and the other fish says, "Oh, you're already in it."
Mm-hmm.
and then a comment his mom makes earlier, like you are going to be paid. You're going to have your full time career in music, with this full time teacher job, and I kind of look at that, in some ways I have a full time career in filmmaking, which is very very cool. So moments like that, really, like it was kind of eerie. It was almost eerie where I felt like this film was especially written for me.
You think that Pixar sat down and said, "We need to make a movie for this guy, Chris. He's been a fan of ours for years. He's been watching all our movies."
I guess I wasn't expecting to see to see a Pixar film focus on my job, essentially, which, I'm not a music teacher, but I teach in creative arts, and that felt like it was directed at a person like me. So that was a kind of like a really pleasant surprise, and I admire all the hard work that went into this. I mean, I watched all the credits, and they really did their research on this. They had a number of consultants on this movie, and they really wanted to get this right.
I heard there's a real life jazz musician who played the music on piano, and they modeled the animation on his hands.
Yeah, I believe it was John Batiste from Stephen Colbert's show.
I don't know if they did it with motion capture or if they just filmed them and.
Yeah, several, according to the Wikipedia page, several music performers, including jazz composer John Batiste. So I suppose they use footage of them performing as reference.
Oh, okay. So I don't know enough about animation to know the technical process of how they would do that, but to me, it's all just wizardry and magic because it's amazing.
Well, because you got to have him playing the right keys, on the piano and have that sound correct. Yeah, especially, I mean, obviously, this is going to speak to musicians way more than me. They're kind of,
because you know that all the music teachers are going to go see this and be, wait a minute, that doesn't line up. Because I know that's when I was in high school, that's what my music teacher said about that Nick Cannon movie Drumline. He was like, yeah, none of that. What they're doing is not matching the sound of what you're hearing.
Yeah, so I mean, it seems like they really did their homework with this. As far as representing the jazz culture and African American culture, it seems like they really gave it a big effort with this
with
film.
Really strong performances by Angela Bassett and of course Jamie Foxx. Mm-hmm. Not his first time playing a musician. He won an Oscar for Ray.
Yeah. The voices, the voice cast on this was outstanding. I saw that obviously Tina Fey was perfect for that character, and Questlove played Curly, the former student of Joe, and everyone really brought their A game.
It was cool to see someone local like Tina Fey.
Oh, sure.
We can say that, being from Delco.
Being from Delco, well, we don't like to brag about it.
Oh, wait, I mean, we're from Philly, right? The Philly Film Brothers.
Yeah. The only thing I would say, the only thing I was hoping for that I didn't get was I wanted to see what 22 would be as a person. Like, I kind of was hoping for that to be the last scene or something, or a post-credit scene. I thought that would
some sort of epilogue.
Yeah. Because it's, and I don't know, maybe it would have been too cheesy maybe it would have been too formulaic, but I would have loved to have seen 22 run into Joe at some point later in life or something like that. That would have been cool.
I mean, she's going to end up being one of his students one day.
I mean, maybe if they did that, it would have been too much. But if you just look at this movie on the surface, it's about death, but it's really not about death at all. Like it's really kind of more about life and kind of how you form your personality. I mean, the death part is actually very small in this.
Yeah, I mean, he spends, when he first falls through that manhole, he's like, no, my life was just getting started, and it makes you think about how, to your point earlier, when a workaholic, or in this case an artist, gets too focused on their work, with tunnel vision and all that, they forget to live.
Mm-hmm.
And it begs the question, obviously it's good to have a goal to work towards in life, but if that's your only focus, if it's the only thing you think about and you finally get it, what was all that other time spent doing?
There's only one other scene in a movie, at least right now, that comes to my mind that kind of reminds me of a similar message. And that would be Stan Lee's cameo in Mallrats.
Of course you would reference that.
But you know what I mean? I mean, that's kind of a
Yeah, I didn't think of that.
Yeah, well,
that's a fair point.
Yeah, but Soul, great film, highly recommend. Check it out. Oh, I didn't even get to mention there's a cat in it, and the cat plays a pretty big part, and so that was just kind of icing on the cake for me.
That was just a bonus for you.
Like, I love cats. It's I was really I laughed when he takes over the cat's body, and then you just see the cat's soul just going up to the after the great beyond.
Yeah.
And I laughed, but I felt really bad.
I mean, yeah, whatever became of that poor cat.
He was okay.
I would hope that Terry would have caught it, as obsessive as she was about her counts being right. Wait a minute, this cat isn't supposed to be here. I'm sure she.
Well, at the end, when Joe returns to his body, they show the cat running back to its owner.
Okay. And another.
So the cat was okay. I'm going to be very clear.
That was okay, people. Another random scene that made me laugh hysterically, probably more than I should have, was when Terry comes down to Earth and she approaches that other guy that came out of the barber shop, and she just leaves him there after he has witnessed like the ends of the universe.
Yeah, and that was great.
And he's never gonna be the same again. and I pictured him turning into like a conspiracy theorist. And no one believing him. He's like, no, I know what. Like, he's Randy Quaid in Independence Day.
Oh gosh, no, that's a great bit. Yeah, like just small moments like that really, even the small moments like that really make the film work. So there was.
We definitely, like I said, we watched it like 3 times. Lucy loved it. Jess said that it was her favorite movie of 2020. I said as much as I liked it, that's I wouldn't go that far.
It's up there. I'd say it definitely is one of the best films of 2020 for sure.
One of.
Yeah. Yeah. No, and I loved the last one I saw. I loved Onward. I mean, God, that feels like that was this year, but that was a while.
That feels like a decade ago. I liked this one more than Onward, though.
I really liked. They were both so good.
But I also understand that for Onward, if I'm not at all into like D&D, but for those who are, I can understand why they loved it.
Sure. Yeah, it feels like Pixar really, whenever they pick a subject matter, they really do their research, and it really pays off for the people that are interested in whatever the subject is.
Mm-hmm.
So, well, I think that's going to wrap it up for Philly Film Brothers. I have no idea when we'll be back or what we'll be talking about, but whatever it is, you can find it right here on youtube.com/dorkdaily or dorkdaily.com. Dave, if you want to plug where people can find you.
Well, if you're a fan of horror, you can find me at HalloweenYearRound.com. That's sort of my other thing that I do. But I'll also be back on here promoting and plugging whatever we have in 2021. There's hopefully a much better year on the horizon. And there's a lot of good movies slated to come out.
Yeah, we'll be back probably with some of the new Disney Plus Marvel shows. So
Yeah.
talking about that soon. So until next time, take care, stay safe, wear a mask. We'll see you soon.